Hello everyone, welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now and the England Golf Young Ambassadors. My name's Steve Jackson and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Steve, how are you? I feel it's been quite a while since we've done this actually, but it hasn't really, has it?
It's a couple of weeks, but I've been out of the country and you've been, I don't know where you've been. Where have you been the last 2 weeks?
Well, I've had a poorly cameraman. I still got a poorly cameraman, but I have been trying to think where have I been since we last did the podcast? Had I been to Scotland?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I've been to Nottingham. I've been to Silverstone. I've been to Scotland. Then I've been back to Silverstone. And here I am now.
Okay. Well, I've been to Silverstone in that time as well. I went to the golf course. I'm guessing you went to the F1 track though.
I did. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We will cover Silverstone actually in the news. Right, but this podcast is all about golf. It's about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about trying to get more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is show number 38. And it's a slightly different one from normal because we've only got one guest on. It's a big one, though, because it's a golfer who has competed at the highest level for a number of decades. Jonathan Lomas, a professional for 35 years, 14 of those years was playing on the European Tour. He won on the European Tour. He won on the Challenge Tour. He won in Asia. In 1994, he was the Rookie of the Year, and he's played in 5 major championships. And actually, this is quite a good record. 5 major championships he played in, and made the cut all 5 times. Now, there are not too many players who've done that, who've managed to have a 100% record in playing in major championships.
Masters, though, did he, Steve?
US Open, though.
US Open.
And I think he does mention when we have the interview, he actually led the Open Championship one year as well. So someone who knows about playing at the highest level. He now plays on the European Seniors Tour, or what's now known as the Legends Tour. And I was very fortunate. I did mention the fact that I've been out in Ireland. I was very fortunate. I played in the Pro-Am at Sea Point alongside Jonathan last week. Really enjoyable trip. 2 fantastic golf courses. We played Sea Point, and then the following day we played at County Louth, which was next door. Had a long chat with him afterwards, though. I mean, we were only supposed to sit down for 10-15 minutes, and in the end it turned into a 45-50 minute interview, you see. So I just thought, right, let's play the whole thing out, because he had a lot to say. Obviously this is a guy who's been in the professional game a long time. So we talked about how he got into it from the junior ranks. And also he's a father as well. 2 sons, both play the game. One of them is, I think, 7 years old. One of them is 21 and looking to get in the professional game as well. So fascinating to hear his thoughts on how he did or didn't encourage his children to get into the game, and how he looks upon being a father to a potential professional golfer as well. So fascinating. It was great to talk to him, and I hope you really enjoy the chat with him, because I think it's going to be a fascinating interview talking about lots of different subjects. Right, now, first things first, let's do the latest.
Well, Steve, before we go into the news, can I just do a little bit of housekeeping for everybody as well? As usual, the live chat is open at Live Sport Now on YouTube. So if you do have a question or you want to make a comment on something, please do, because I have this little fancy chat bar, which means I can see it here. And if it's a really good one, we can show it on screen as well. So please do comment if you want to have your say at any point whilst you're hearing from Jonathan Lomas. At any point, please do comment below. Steve and I can see them. If it's a particularly good one, we'll show it on screen. A few ways you could do that. There's a link in the body of this broadcast that will take you straight through to the live chat on YouTube. Or there's a QR code just above Steve's head there. You scan that. It will also take you through as well. And at any point, if you do want to find out more about Progress Junior Golf, there is a link in the body of this broadcast, takes you straight through to his website. So if you are looking for a tournament, or you are looking for some information or anything to do with junior golf, that is an absolute treasure trove of information. So do visit Progress Junior Golf. And that's it, Steve. over to you.
And what I was going to say as well, I mean, after that, if anyone wants to comment on some of the news items that we bring up, perhaps you might have seen some of the events that we're talking about, then please comment on that, because we'd love to hear from you if you've seen or aware of some of the golf stories, or if you have any golf junior stories which we may be able to use in future podcasts, please get in touch, because we'd love to hear from you. So yeah. Right. First things first, so let's go on to the latest junior golf news then. We'll start overseas. The Junior Golf World Cup took place in Japan, both boys and girls competitions there. England didn't have a girls team in, but they did have a boys team. The girls competition was won by Japan, the host nation, 34 under par over 4 rounds, a very high standard of scoring there. They won by a couple of shots from the USA. Boys team, Japan once again won, 34 under par once again. Second place was Canada. Didn't realise Canada had some very good young golfers, but by the sounds of it, they did very well. The English team finished 5th in that competition. The team, some household names, as you well know, Ian. Harley Smith, Josh Berry, Tyler Weaver, and Dylan Shaw Radford. The latter two there, they both finished in the top 10 in the individual category. Actually, England really finished really strongly. I think there was a couple of 66 and a 67 in the final round. So well done to England.
What a trip that is, though, Steve, isn't it? What a learning curve that is. Go to Japan and play some golf as a junior. Unbelievable.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know the reasons why, but it's just a shame the fact that we couldn't send the girls team out there as well, because that would have been a great experience for them as well. And as we well know, with women's golf, in Asia, very, very big out there. They've got a lot of very good players. So that would have been
bigger than the men's game, isn't it? Really.
It's picking up the men's game, isn't it? Obviously, a lot of Asian players are now coming through and winning majors as well and challenging for majors. So well done to the England team for doing so well there. Right, back in this country then, English Schools National Championship, talking about girls golf. Elizabeth Wilson from Nottinghamshire, she won by 2 shots. She's 15 years old, from Norwood Park. Now, Open Championship qualifying. Now, obviously, this is for the Open, which takes place at Hoylake. Regional qualifying took place this week. I think the final qualifying is next week or the weekend. I think it might be next week. So regional qualifying, 117 places were up for grabs. I think there was 14 different venues of the time. Now, 36 of those ended up being claimed by amateur golfers. Not all of these are junior golfers, but just some of the ones to mention. Coldie, I think of the 8 players at Coldie, 6 of them were amateurs who made it through there. Kedleston Park, some household names, once again, young golfers here. George Bloor, Alex Ford, Ben Lovard, Jake Plum, Seb Cage, Rory McDonald O'Brien, they all made it through. Hesketh Golf Club, the winner was Jack McPhail, who's been mentioned on this podcast previously, 3 under par. Moore Park, George Castle, another player who we know well, 4 under par. At Northampton County, Jack Peters, a junior member, he made it through as well. And actually, the winner of that competition was a friend of the podcast, been on the podcast before, professional golfer Ryan Evans. In his mid-30s now, Ryan, so not quite a junior golfer, but pleased with the fact that he made it through.
Chris Hansen played as well. He unfortunately didn't quite make it. Said he couldn't hole any putts, but as we know, Chris, a former guest on the show as well.
Absolutely. Do you know where he played at? Do you know which course he was at? If I read out the other venues, you tell me that Old Woodley, Burr Hill, Ferndown, Gossick, Kilmarnock, Lindrick, Minchinhampton, Rochester and Cobham, County Louth. Did he play at any of those?
I don't know. No. I could probably find out for you. Well,
let me tell you about Northampton. Northampton was another venue as well. And 17-year-old Drew Sykes, he didn't qualify, but how about this for the start of his round? First hole, got a hole in one.
Oh, no way.
So good. Well done to him. Now, talking about hole in ones, because covered this last week, the Alexis Brown Golf Foundation Day that took place at Nelcott Hole. We'll tell you about a little bit more about the competition, but there was a hole in one on that day. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it down because you had a sick cameraman, which would have been a shame because you missed out on seeing your first ever ace live, because we had a hole in one. It came from Jack Meakin. I think we've got a photo of Jack with the ball. There he is, Jack, from Wellingborough Golf Club. He did it on the 3rd hole in his 2nd round. Went on to finish with the best net score in the top division, net 51, which was over 18 holes, so 300 par net altogether. The winner of the gross competition was Josh Gardner from Coventry, gross 55, so just 1 over par. And let me tell you, They're quite short holes there, but very, very tricky. If you miss any of the greens, you can be in some serious trouble there. So 1 over par was very, very good scoring. Alfie Walk also qualified. From the girls section, another person who's been on the podcast previously, Eloise Freely, she was the best girl. And other players to make it through were Seraphina Taylor and Jessica Davis. When I say got it through, because 6 players make it through now to the British Par 3 Championship. They play on the Monday, and if they manage to do really well in that, they actually play in the Pro-Am and get to play with the top players in that. The best score, though, in that qualifier, though, let me tell you, was a net 48 from a young lad called Josh Brown. So, seriously good score in there, net 48. So well done to him. Right. Did mention that I was at Silverstone Golf Club this last week. There was the Shires Junior Golf Tour event there. Oliver Golby won the gold division, gross and net. Jake Goldsmith in the second division came in with a net 59. Not bad scoring, eh? What do you think of that, Ian?
Oh, well.
Yeah. And he finished runner-up.
Hey?
He finished runner-up by 5 shots. Somebody came in with a net 54.
I'll tell you, shoot net 59 and you'd probably win 19 out of 20 times, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Well, I'd hope more than that, but yes.
Probably, yeah.
Well done to Harry Collins, who came in with a net 54. There was a 9-hole competition as well. The winner of the 9-hole competition, net 24, 1100 par, net 24. That was and that was on countback as well. So that was Niall Goodrich who beat William Worsley. Special thanks as well. They've been on the podcast. We obviously bigged them up a few weeks ago. Stadium Golf, they give prizes to all the winners of the age categories there. So they're going to go and play Stadium Golf at Stadium NK, which I think is July the 6th to July the 9th. So massive thanks to Nick Adicott for sorting that out for us on that. Right, just finally, I think we've got a photo of the winner of this competition. We'll come to that photo in a second. But the Irish Junior Open Tour, they had their, Schools Open competition took place at Greystones Golf Club. Under 19s competition was won by Carl Fitzpatrick from University of Galway. Under 14s was Jake Brown from Campbell College. And we got the photo of the winner of the under 11s competition. This was Pippa Cuff. I sent it to you this evening. Just saw this story. Here's Pippa there with her prize. Well done to her. If I say that Cara Fitzpatrick won the under 19s with a net 68,
yeah,
Jake Brown won the under 14s with a net 62. I know you love this when I do this to you, Ian. Right, what do you think Pippa's winning score was then in the under 11s category then?
Well, do you know what? I always get these wildly wrong. So I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to say a net 56.
Net 56 is a very, very good guess, but absolutely nowhere near. Wait, I'm glad you sat down, Ian. Wait for it, right? 18-hole competition, yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Net 27.
What? Is that even possible?
42 under par. If I told you that her worst hole, I think 4 of them was a net birdie.
Yeah. I think some of these handicaps is inaccurate there.
Yes. To be fair to the Irish Junior, they do send them off forward tees. So obviously, and credit to them because it gives them the opportunity to get birdies and eagles and things like that. But when you come, I don't know what the second best score was. I think you said about net 59. You've been most competitive. I think the second place was something like 22 under par, and missed out by 20 shots.
Yeah. Ceases to be a competition, doesn't it? Really?
But well done to Pippa, though. So
congratulations.
Absolutely. So
the rules are the rules, and she abided by them, and she won. So fair play.
Absolutely, yeah.
You deserve it.
But I think it's fair to say when we do our review of the year at the end of the year, that will be the lowest score in the entire year, a net 27. That might even be the lowest score for 9-hole competition, let alone an 18-hole competition.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that wraps up the junior golf news this week. Not too much junior golf news this week because we've got a lot to cover in the actual podcast. Obviously, you did your little bit of housekeeping about what you've been doing and about the show and everything like that. Give you the opportunity now because we're probably not going to have a chat afterwards. But what have you got coming up? And we'll explain a little bit about what podcast we've got coming up as well. So, what are you doing the next couple of weeks, Ian?
Yeah, next couple of weeks actually. Coming into July. Quite heavy with the Trilby Tour, so we get a few juniors playing on that. Of course, we had the championship with Ayrshire, and we had I can't remember the lad's name, but a junior was the first player to tee off, which was great. So expecting more of that. We're at Killick Percy for the Championship of Yorkshire. And then a week later, again, Trilby Tour at Oxford Springs for that one as well. So there's going to be quite a bit of live golf coming up on Live Golf Now in July. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But a lot of motorsport as well, I have to say. Steve, I had the pleasure of doing British F4 at the weekend. This weekend, I'm doing the Super Tourers. Then I am doing the Disability Expo at London XL. And then I am doing the British Truck Racing Championship. And then I am delighted to say I will be with Lord March presenting Goodwood Festival of Speed for 4 days. And of course, as we know, Goodwood has a nice golf course down there as well, which we filmed at the Faldo Series, believe it or not.
2 golf courses actually there, so yes.
Yes, true. But yeah, as I said, we did Faldo Series, didn't we, at Goodwood?
So, we did, absolutely, yes. So yeah, absolutely chucked it down with rain on the day that I went there. But right, and I also mentioned the fact that we've got Progress Junior Golf podcast coming up. Delighted to say that, you know, today you've done a massive interview with a very, very big golfer. We won't reveal the name now, but if I tell you that he's played in the Ryder Cup, and he will be involved in the Junior Ryder Cup this year. So really good, fascinating interview with him.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll reveal that in the next few days or so. Also, we're going to do a podcast on the rules of golf. We're going to do one on the Ladies European Tour event, which takes place at Centurion Park, and we're going to do one on mental health in junior golf as well. So some really fascinating and different types of subjects that we're going to be covering over the next few weeks and months ahead. So it's a lot to look forward to in the Progress Junior Golf podcast. Right, but this one we've got a big one today because this is, you know, a fascinating interview with a European Tour player for many, many years now on the Legends Tour. Which, if you don't know, is the equivalent of the European Seniors Tour. So plays alongside the likes of Ian Woosden, Peter Baker. And I tell you what, actually, before we did this interview before the tournament started, and one of the players he mentioned actually went on to win the Legends Tour. So he knows his golfers. He knows who's pretty good out there, kind of thing. So spot that when he's talking, and he starts talking about a very good junior golfer, and he says he's not bad now. Well, he was right because he went on a shot something like, I think 16 or 17 under par and won the tournament over 3 rounds. So he knows his golf, Jonathan. Right, let's get on the way then. So this is how it started. First of all, I gave him the opportunity to have a chat about his background in junior golf and how we became a professional golfer. This is Jonathan Lomas.
I was 10 years old when I first started. I caddied for my father at the local club 1 round, and I thought, you know what, I can do better. I can go and play. I'd rather go and play. So he introduced me to the game through caddying for him, and then it looked easy, I suppose, but obviously not an easy game. So I ended up wanting to play, and had lessons off the local pro, and long process of getting into it. And I was playing lots of other sports as well. I was football at that age, and a bit of rugby and cricket. My grandfather was a famous cricketer, so I was playing a bit of cricket as well, all sorts of sports. And I think because my grandfather was involved in being a professional sportsman, I was interested in that, and he encouraged me and helped me with the cricket, and then got into golf as well. So I suppose one by one the sports fall off, and you get better at one of them, and you think, you know what, I'll concentrate on this. So by age 15, I was down to 4 handicap at golf, and wanting to play junior golf, and until 18, so you play all the, you lower the handicap, you can get in the Carriage Trophies, the national tournaments and things like this. And there was the Daily Express boys, that was a big thing to practice for and try and get in, and then you meet all these other golfers at a young age. Peter Baker, he was the best player, under a 15-year-old when he's a year older than me, so he was winning everything. I mean, it was just to be involved in it, and it just became obsession, I guess, to try and improve, and so I had limited success as an amateur, and I got down to scratch, and then there was a decision. I was encouraged to turn professional when I was 19 by the local pro. Said, you've done your amateur stuff. You know, is it really going to benefit you doing any more amateur stuff? And I was young, and I said, you know, you'd be better off going and into the deep end and see how you do. So he got me a place to. It was a mini tour in South Carolina. I went over there. I went to the tour school. Didn't do very well, and then went to America. And then I met a guy called Alan Pate, who was going to South Africa. He said, Jonathan, you're better off, I can get your name down. If you've got $4,000, you can go and play 2 months in South Africa. You'd be much better off. They're proper tournaments. I'm only 19 at the time. You've got big crowds, television, you've got a chance to get, you know, experience, you know, being in a proper tournament. And in January, February of the season, all the European Tour players were off, and a lot of them played down there. So I was lucky to meet Alan. He got me on the list, got on the plane in Washington, flew over to Heathrow with all these Americans. There's about 120 Americans, college players. John Daly was on it, Tom Lehman was on it. There was a whole stack of other players. Fred Wadsworth, he won the South African Open. There was a load of good players on that. And I stayed in the hotel with these guys, so now mixing with all these top American college players, you know, who didn't get the tour card, so they were looking for somewhere to play. So I was still, you know, young, straight in at the deep end, and I made you had to Monday qualify, so you didn't make the first one, made the second one, got in the tournament, played a tournament, missed the cut, and do the same again, Monday qualify, get in, make the cut. If you made the cut in the tournament, you got in the following week. So it was you know, the better you played, the more events you played, and I think I played 4 events, made 1 cut, sort of thing. So, but you know, there's big crowds to play in. You know, as a 19-year-old, I must have looked. You know, it was a great experience. Came home and I was buzzing, really. So that's what I wanted to do, and so I don't know. I think you have to make your own opportunities. And I think everybody will get opportunities to play. It's just, and then if you can stand up to it, you know, if it's for you or not. You know, a lot of young golfers want to be on the tour, you know, but do you really want to be on the tour? You know, is it going to scare you to death? Are you going to be able to handle it? And it was, you know, you're a different animal who wants to do that, because it's brutal. It is brutal. You can go weeks. I mean, I missed, of those 8 tournaments, I made 1 cut. I made, you know, £600, and it cost me £4,000 to do it. So it was you have to sort of pay to learn, and that would destroy people, or it would make you. You know, you think I could improve from that, or at least I did something. You know, I got a little bit out of it, and you have to sort of keep yourself. It's not kidding yourself. It's just learning. You have to keep learning and building, and if you can improve, and I did keep improving. You know, I kept improving slowly, and I got on the Challenge Tour a couple of years later. I'd entered the tour school, and I got through to the finals, missed the card. So my name was on the lists, and I was only 21 at the time, 22. And they were short of a field in Sweden. So the European Tour rang me up, would you like to go to Gävle in Sweden? Nobody wanted to go because it was so expensive to go in 1991. You know, it was expensive to go. So I said, yeah, I'll go. It's £1,000 to go. And I played well. Peter Hedlund was in it, and Matt Slanner. They played. It was their home club, and they played in it. So Matt Slanner was on the tour, and Peter was a young star coming through, and he eventually, you know, won tournaments on the European Tour. And so I played in that, and I finished 10th in it. I got £1,000 back. So, but that was £1,000 onto the Order of Merit, which, believe it or not, was enough to get me on for the following year, a full Challenge Tour card. So I was off and running on the Challenge Tour then, and that's how it, you know. And then eventually, 4 years of that experience on the tour, I finished 15th in '92, and I figured the top 10, they're off on the tour, so that puts me 5th. That was my mental thinking. This is great. The best players have gone. I don't have to beat them anymore. So immediately I was thinking I was one of the better players in '93, and I finished third on the list. So that was me on the European Tour, and I spent 14 years on it, on the main tour.
As a junior then, you mentioned there the fact that you played lots of different sports.
Yes.
What did you learn from the different sports which brought you into your golf, and what sports did you try and avoid because it could have affected your golf?
Well, the team games like football, instantly you've got team sports or individual sports like tennis and golf. I played tennis as well. So cricket's a team thing. So you've got this thing of, you've got to fit in the team. You might be the best cricketer, but if you're upsetting the team spirit, you're probably not going to get picked. Or if you've got an issue with something or with somebody, you will get dropped. And so I figured I prefer a sport when I'm on my own. I was a bit shy, I guess, at that age, a bit shy. So I was happy on my own, practicing, not be, put into a position that that's you, and with the tennis or golf, you can really, you're your own boss. So I that attracted me to golf specifically, but
technically, were the parts of the other sports whereby it could have affected your golf? So cricket, you played, squash, you mentioned as well. Are the ones whereby you thought, actually, this is probably not going to do me any good to play this?
Well, my dad played squash, my mum played squash, and they said, "Oh, you bet if you're playing golf, it's too risky. You'll get too strong a right arm. Whereas in golf, you want probably a left arm that's strong. So if you watch the tennis pros, you only have to see the right arm, and it's like bulging compared to the left arm. It's so just to get, you don't want to be too dominant in your dominant arm. So in golf, it's all about balancing it, I guess. And so I did play a little bit of school, but I didn't play a lot of it. And tennis was, I suppose, that's another. I dropped tennis as well.
What about fitness? What fitness
playing
wise?
Sport keeps you fit. Back then, you just to do the sport was going to keep you reasonably fit. And I used to do some jogging, I used to run, and just generally play a lot of the sport. So but today it's different. The new kids on the tour, they're athletes. You only have to look at the old pictures of, say, Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson, and then look at some of the guys on the tour today, and they're just a different build. They're compared to Tiger Woods, or he was the pioneer of that sort of thing. But there's now 100 of them on the tour, whereas a lot of sports are like that. If you look at the rugby, if you could look at Billy Bowman playing rugby, and now the rugby players today, you can see the physique. There's no tubby boys in the teams now. They're all athletes that can probably run 10-second 100 meters. They're all super fit and strong. So sport is definitely, it's more professional now. There's more physiotherapists, personal trainers are involved, and it's just breeded this. If you're not doing it, well, you're left behind. But back when I started, it was still pretty. Golf's an all-round sport. It's not all about brute strength. You've got to putt as well. You've got to have a lot of skill around the greens. So there's a lot of finesse involved.
What about mentality as well? Because you mentioned about being an individual sport, and you like the idea of not being in that team environment and being an individual, but that brings with it added pressures because it's all on you.
Yeah.
And as a junior, dealing with that can be difficult.
Yeah, I think I suppose just experiences in playing football as a kid and how it was, and I liked football, enjoyed it. I actually broke my leg playing football. So somebody kicked my ankle and broke my ankle. I was only 11, and I couldn't play football. But I could hit. It was my right leg, so I could hit a golf shot. So I was flicking 7-irons through the rugby posts at this school I was at. Instead of playing football, I was what going to do at sport because they had a lot of time for games at the school I went to. I mean, they played cricket and rugby, and I played rugby as well, and football, tennis, and I was the only one playing golf. You know, there was very few playing golf at that stage. One or two or three of us. But I could hit a ball back then. I was 11.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, all those sports you mentioned there, you think of professionals. You think there's a lot of injuries go around playing those types of sports.
And it was an injury that kind of made me play. The only thing I could do was hit a golf ball on my left foot. If you move onto the left side, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Know? But I couldn't kick a ball for 8, 9, 10 weeks because it would keep breaking my ankle. So I was, and I couldn't run.
Yeah.
So just the fact of having that injury was another, and then I just suddenly found I could clip the ball up in the air, 7-iron, clip it 150 yards back then. It was just natural, I guess, and I just enjoyed it. And then the European Tour was on television, and how on the BBC, and Peter Allis and all this, interesting characters, Greg Norman, all those Seve and all those amazing golf tournaments to watch as a kid, and then you actually go to tournaments and view it live, and to actually see them and get really close to them. We used to go to the Benson Hedges at York, all sorts of places we used to go. And then the Open happens, that's a different thing, major tournaments. And then you want to go and play golf courses. It's a lot. It's a wonderful thing, golf. It's an amazing sport. It's a wonderful office, green grass, and it's the best place to be. Name something better. Well, there are, I'm sure, lots of things you can do, but they're all wonderful. And golf's worldwide. It's grown everywhere. It's been wonderful. But playing, as a professional golfer on the tours, and the tour's developed, and it's getting very commercial now, and people are very fit playing it, and it's changed the game.
You mentioned about you watch television and you watch golf on television, the role models that you had there. Now as a senior pro, do you take on that responsibility of trying to help out the younger players coming through, and in particular junior golf as well? Is that something?
I don't know if they listen. Not many people would believe it. If you tell them, "Oh, I used to play," and all right. I've got a 21-year-old son who plays golf. He's a member at Old Prestwick, and all his pals. Your dad was on the tour. It's. I'll leave them to it. I mean, they have to work it out themselves. And I think you need to have the drive yourself. No one's going to drive you. You have to drive yourself. And certain kids are like that, who have that inner mobility to do it. Or there's other ones that I don't know. I don't think there's anyone on tour who's been told you must go and do it. You do it yourself. If you go and talk to all the lads here, they've all been driven to do it themselves. They might have had parents to introduce them to the sport. I think the ones with, say, parents who really pushed them into it, if they didn't want to do it, you're not going to do it unless you want to do it, really want to do it. And it's not for everybody, being a tournament golfer, because of the stress of missing cuts, or the travelling and the disappointment, because most of the time you're either missing a cut or getting a small check. You only have 3 weeks in a whole year when you play well, and all your money's you earn in 3 weeks. So the rest of the time you're just practicing. So the mentally is a big challenge. Not everybody wants it now. It doesn't happen that way. You have to sort of build, and the same person doesn't win every week. So you have to have a different mindset. If you want to be the best all the time, you're going to be very disappointed.
So as a parent of a junior golfer, now an adult golfer, but how difficult stroke easy was it to take a step back and go, I'll let you get on with it? You know, you come to me to advice if you need it, but at the same time, you're the one who needs to work it out for yourself.
I'll leave my son to it, and he.
But how difficult or easy was it to do that? Because you obviously
quite easy.
Yeah.
I think it for me. You know, you want the person to do whatever, your children to do whatever they want to do, really, as long as it's legal and they're not harming anybody and they're having a good time. I think you've got to make mistakes and learn. So you want, if they make a mistake, let them learn from it. If we're not going to make the same mistake again. So I don't know how you didn't. It's a challenge to steer your children, but you do. But you've got to let them choose themselves in a way. Then it'll stick.
Yeah.
You know, what they do.
Are you a good watcher? Can you watch your son play?
Well, I watched him on Sunday. He was in the final of the club championship at his club, Old Prestwick. He's a member at. And, the captain was watching, the secretary and the pro, David Fleming, and he was playing the best player in the club, Johnny King, who's won it 8 times, and he did well, but he was disappointed. He was really good, actually. I mean, he didn't lose. He's very well behaved. He was. It was. I didn't want to put him off by watching him, and I rarely go and watch him play, you know. But I gave him a lesson when he was 3 years old, and I've not taught him much at all. And he's got a great swing, hits it miles. You know, it's all his. You know, I just gave him a few basics. It's literally when he was 3 years old, I gave him the fundamentals, and he hasn't had a lesson of anyone else.
And there's so talking about a podcast of talking about turning professional. Is that conversation you've had with him about?
I wouldn't want him to be a pro. He is good enough, but he doesn't practice enough. He's got more talent than me, a lot more talent than most, and he's a strong boy. He goes to the gym. He ticks all those boxes, but he's just a little bit loose because he doesn't practice enough. But you know, I'm not going to tell him to go and practice enough. And he's clever. He's got a degree. He's doing a masters at Aberdeen University. So I'd rather he do something else, really. But he wants. If he has a good amateur career, great. You know, that's fine. You know, he can. And he's a +1 handicap now. I mean, it's nothing now, is it, +1? But he's you know, he's solid. He can play, and he's always going to have that. You know, that he can always be able to play golf with whoever. You know, if it's in a corporate environment, he can mix with people and hold his own. You know, it's never been. I don't particularly want him to. The way the tour's gone, I wouldn't want him to go through that, really. You know, the harshness of competition at a high level, it's harsh. It's really, and there's a lot of issues when you stop playing professional sport, mental health issues. Because if you think if I started when I was 10 playing golf and I eventually got 19, I was professional. So from 19 till 39, I was still playing at a high level, and I'm still playing now. But when you finish, you go, what's happening tomorrow? You know. You still go and practice. Why? Because you're not playing anymore. But it's so hard to stop what you've done for most of your life. And all sports like that. Rugby, football, cricket. There's a lot of cricketers who struggle with when they stop. You know, they're young people. They're only 36 years old, finished. So I wouldn't want to encourage him unless he really wants to do it. But I'd explain to him that's what you need a plan for when you stop, and you know, you could be injured. You know, you could be injured tomorrow. Somebody takes your place if you're injured. So I think professional sport is very cutthroat. You know, more so than you realise. You know, so that's. I wouldn't encourage him to unless he wants to himself.
Yeah, but obviously that's professional. What about Club Pro? What about PGA route?
Well, there's that
route,
the
coaching
well.
pro.
You know, there was that route as well. I was a member of the PGA, as a kid. When I was 19, I joined the PGA. It was an assistant professional, and I did 2 years. There was a 3-year course when I was doing, and I did 2 years at Lilleshall, at Bisham Abbey. I did a course there. Tim Barton was one of the tutors. I remember he's on Sky TV now, and so when the 3rd year came round, I got my tour card. It coincided with Dubai Desert Classic in '94. That was when I was going to do my final exam, and I can't really give up playing the Dubai Desert. I can't go, and it meant I had to do like another year or something. So, and if you're on the tour, you get like a membership of the PGA anyway. So you get a tournament player category of the British PGA. So I could play pro-ams at home and you know, various things. So I was a member of the PGA for 20 years, 25 years, without actually qualifying, just by my membership of the European Tour, and allowed me to be a member of the PGA. So I never did the final stage of it.
Yeah.
But I was doing it, and it just, in my own situation, they don't really go together. Club pros and tournament golfers, they're different careers, different mentality, different. One's quite stable and one isn't. You know, you can win a lot of money, but you know, the stability in life. If you want more stability in life, you probably want to be a club pro. You know.
Your son playing off +1, which is very good, but at the same time
there's lots of +4s, +6s, +8s.
Exactly, you know, and did you have that conversation with him whereby you said, "Look, you're good, but you're just not quite that good"?
No.
And how do you even go through that conversation?
Well, he went to a competition. He's doing it himself now, but a few years ago, when he was 16, he was entering a couple of competitions. There was one at St Andrews. There was a big junior comp. They came from all over the world to play in this on the Eden course, and it exposed him to it. And he was all right for 9 holes, but then the wheels came off, and he shot a big number on the back 9. So I think he didn't like that exposure to it and how it made him feel. So he didn't really. It kind of numbed him. You know, because it's not a nice feeling. You know, you've got to practice more, you've got to do this more, but he didn't want to do it. You know, he could have gone the other way and practiced harder, but he didn't. You know, he's a clever kid. He's doing other things, which is great. You know.
And you've obviously seen your son play with players who would be similar standard, and if you see those players going through the same experience, have you ever had the opportunity whereby you've tried to give them that type of advice to say, yeah, I don't know, can you get involved?
I think you would know, you'd spot the person's personality if they're really into it. Some of the, my son's name's John, his pals are actually really good players, and they've got a chance to make it, you know, and they are very driven compared to John. I mean, he will literally not practice at all, and he'll go around and shoot a low number, you know, and then it could be. He's got a lot of talent. He's got more talent than you need, but you also need to work at it.
And when you were growing up and you were playing, I mean, you mentioned some of the players, Peter Baker and people like that. I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight, but did you know that they were going to make it?
Yeah, it was no surprise to me. I mean, Peter got on the tour because I was watching. He got an invite into the Belfry tournament. I don't know if it was the British Masters or something like that at the Belfry. I mean, at that time, the Ryder Cup was going to be there and stuff like that. And he got an invitation, and I think he finished high enough to keep his card. So he finished like 3rd or something in his first or second event he ever played in. He got it on an invite, so that he didn't go to the tour school. He just literally got his card and he kept it. You know, so I knew what he was capable of doing because he's winning the Carriage Trophy. He's playing this and that, and he was young. He was about 19, 20 at that point. So he was a young star. He was. He won the Daily Express National Boys by, you know, there was a lot of stuff he did at a very young age, 15. It was like 17-year-olds, and he was winning it when he was 15. So it was unusual.
Yeah.
He's a great player today still.
Yeah. And I'm just not picking on him in particular, but did you see good parenting behind him, whereby?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I think there was.
Or others.
I think they had a golf course. I think in his family there was I don't know if his dad had a club or a little club. I don't know, but he was. I don't know the exact story.
Yeah, okay. So that's a bit of a.
He's also from Shropshire. I mean, I lived in Shropshire when I was 15, so I played for Shropshire, and he was playing for the team as well. So you know, so I was a bit old. I was 17. So just after the junior stuff, and he was playing in the men's team, and I got in the men's team. So I've known him a long time, and he's very pally with Ian Woosen back then as well. So it was great to have those mentors to push you. You know, it was, you know, I remember working in the shop at Hill Valley, and Wuzzy won the Masters in '91. That was when I was doing my assistant stuff. Yeah, and he walks in the shop, you know, Masters champion, you know, coming to see Tony, you know. Wow, it was great. You know, amazing to see him. You know. I mean, you can imagine as a young kid in the shop, you know, you've just been watching him last week win the Masters, and then he walks. You know, it was, you know, so it makes you just want to do it, I suppose. You're a fan, you're at that age, you're a big fan of it, and you want to go and learn how to play it and watch it. You know, he was very helpful. He used to give you little putting lessons and stuff. There's some of the times we had, you know, it's priceless. It was, but you have to be really interested in it. You know, if you're not, then you know you probably don't.
Yeah, obviously you've been through it with your son. What would your advice be to a junior golfer if they're looking to become a professional? Would it be a case of be a bit more realistic? What would your advice be?
We've always got to be realistic. I mean, you can let yourself have a go. You can do it for give yourself a little plan for 5 years or 8 years. And just do it and learn and keep an open thing, and maybe get some sponsorship together to let you, if you want to play and get out there, and it's going to cost you a lot of money now to do it. I mean, be honest with yourself. Do you really want to be that, or do you want to teach it? Do you want to? There's a lot of income streams in golf. You know, playing's just one of the little ones. Really, well, it's one of the 12 different things you could make money in golf. You know, you could have a shop, you could teach, you could make clubs, you could be a club repairman, you could be yardage books, you could caddy. There's so many things that you can do in golf. You know that it's not just playing. You know, so you could find what best suits you, I guess. You know.
I'm just thinking of the top of my, some of that acting. You know, not everyone's going to be a Hollywood actor, but they might well be a theatre actor or a TV actor or something like that. Whereby they get a similar type of thing, whereby find your niche.
Yeah, and I think it might be obvious, really, if you just either listen to what people say or, you know, put yourself out there and see what fits, really. You know, I think playing golf's one of the hardest things you can probably, you know, any sport. I mean, football's probably the most popular sport in Scotland. I live in Scotland, and you think thousands of kids play football every week. My son, I've got a 7-year-old who's playing football twice a week, 3 times a week. But it's the percentages that get in the team is tiny, but you've got literally 20,000 kids, and maybe one might make it. You know, so you've got to enjoy it for the sport. You know, absolutely, you've got to enjoy. But there's nothing more than that. Just enjoy, and I really enjoyed golf it's a big bonus playing in tournaments and making a few pounds doing it, which is, I've always looked at it that way a wee bit. It's a bonus, and I've kept going. If you still get a little bit of money, that keeps you going. And it's been a wonderful journey. Some great weeks. You can't buy them. Some of the experiences of that, playing golf, it's been frightening. But it's not. You just have to make your own openings. You have to walk through the door really, and be brave enough to do it. It can be that sort of attitude. It can either make you or it can break you. It's just, I led the Open at Turnberry and got round in a windy day, 66. I didn't lead at the end of the day. Greg Turner shot 65 late on. But the next day, there's suddenly 10,000 people on the first tee watching you. So they weren't there when I teed off the first day. There's a couple of hundred. But all of a sudden, oh my goodness, your legs, and you could hear a pin drop on the tee. They're just everybody's watching you play. So it's not for everybody,
Did you ever learn that? Did you literally have to learn that on the job, if you like? Is it?
But the Challenge Tour was great because back on the Challenge Tour they had TV cameras. They literally had, and if you played in Italy, you'd be in a restaurant and put the telly on, and Eurosport comes on, and it's the golf that we've just been playing in, and there's Ealsey up there, and doing it. You can see him. It's bizarre things. So it was, and then you get used to playing with TV cameras there because it was every week on the Challenge Tour. They'd always have TV cameras. Most tournaments were televised back then on the Challenge Tour, and it'd be on local TV, and. So it was there. You weren't worried about it, but it was a stepping stone to getting on the main tour. So when you got on the main tour, there's another TV camera. It's not a shock or anything. It's on TV, or there's a cameraman walking behind you. That happened on the Challenge Tour. You have a mobile cameraman, and he'd come right behind you. So you were used to that.
When was the first time you experienced that? Did you ever experience that as a junior golfer?
No, on the Challenge Tour. So.
What about photo? I take photos of junior golfers, and I think that's good for them.
Yes,
in the sense of sticking a camera in their face.
There was that in amateur stuff, There was a bit of that, And today, to me, it should be easier with YouTube, for example. People can film you and the last 3 holes of a junior Open, and you can film it and stick it on YouTube. You don't need to put it on like a TV channel.
Yeah.
YouTube is a TV channel, but it's just download it onto it. So you'd think it would be easier to stick it on, and it's a reference point, isn't it? You can always look at it. But there's there's a lot of things today that everything should be televised, I think. But anyway, but I don't know. It's that performance anxiety, isn't it? You can have that. Especially golfers.
Yeah, my point with that
suddenly can't play the game because.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've been mentioned Ian Baker Finch, for example, who obviously won the Open and then bombed. And there's
I don't know why that happened to him.
But there are lots of players who've gone through that experience whereby and that's something whereby. Yeah. That's an adult going through it, but if
a lot of tournament golf is that. It's an analogy of. Let's say there's a plank of wood on the ground, like a scaffolding, a plank of wood like this, on the ground, 5 meters long. You could run across that and not fall off it. If it's on the ground, you could 3 steps and you're across. But put it between 2 skyscrapers, 2,000 feet up. It's the same board, like that. Would you run across it? Well, you don't. What you tend to do, most people would change the technique. They'd sit on it. An inch across, right? You get across, but it's going to take a lot longer, and you've changed your technique. And that's when you get in a pressure situation in golf has changed the technique. The same thing. Why don't you just walk up to it and hit it? Oh, because it's worth £10,000, or it's make the cut, or miss, or it's the Open Championship. But it's how you handle that. You should just walk across it. You should just literally sprint across. But that's the challenge.
So I'll give you an analogy on that, and I've seen this so many times in junior competitions. You'll have a parent saying to the child, "Slow down."
Well, that's changing technique.
Yes.
That's like inch across.
Yes.
Really, we should say is just hit it as you normally do, as if you're on the practice ground.
Yeah.
Don't think about it, just hit it. So that's the challenge. That's why a lot of really good golfers can't make it, because they're changing the technique too much. And if I see pro golfers do it all the time. Still, people. I call it they're on the tightrope, because if you're on a tightrope, if it's on the ground, it's not so bad. But if you go, the higher you leap, put the importance of it, you fall off. And you see perfect golfers slowing down and taking the time, and just do your routine and hit it. That's why routine's important, because if you do the same routine as in a practice round and same routine in the tournament, that's you not on the tightrope. You're just doing it, but regardless, and that's what got me through. Just do the routine. So I mean, there's a lot to it. It's not just about the swing, or it's analysing all sorts of things. I don't know, and it doesn't come together every week. So you've got to accept the disappointment.
Don't often, got to admit, you probably don't often see it at tour level, whereby players really having a meltdown, sense of temper tantrums, things like that. But obviously, you do see a lot of that in junior golf.
I've seen a lot of it.
Okay, probably see more than me. Yeah, but you know what I mean, in the sense of, particularly with juniors, is every shot that they think they should be hitting perfect shot. Yeah. How do you?
And that would destroy you.
Yeah. How do you?
I think you've got to realise that is going to destroy you if you keep doing that, because it's your behaviour is. Nobody. If somebody sees you doing it, it's not. You're not selling yourself. I mean, if you look at a lot of the top golfers, they're gentlemen. They'll try and resist. Okay, inside they feel as if they should throw the club or something, but you think about it for 2 seconds and stop it, and just. You cool down, and then you've got another shot. There's another tournament next week.
Yeah, I think it's Tiger who said that he gives himself 10 seconds to get over the shot, and then he's forgotten it. I mean, whether he actually does it or not, it doesn't matter. But
believe it or not, a caddy is really important for that reason. Because there's frustration in the player, especially for mistakes. If there's been a mistake and you've pulled the wrong club and you've made a double bogey or something. So the caddy the top caddies know this, that where the guy's fuming, he needs to let off steam, and I'm probably going to get blamed for it, right? And the caddy shouldn't react; he should take it, and then it's out of his system. It's probably making the caddy feel angry because it's not my fault, but. Then the player will calm down. It's almost like passing off the aggression to the nearest person's the caddy, and it's probably a little bit. He feels as if it's a bit his fault. Although the caddy's, it's not. I didn't hit the ball, but that is part of he's taking the anger out of it. It's out of his system, and he then calm down, and then he can get back into the next shot. So, there's quite a bit of.
I'm just thinking in junior golf, when you see a young kid miss a 2-foot putt or whatever, and you see the parent on the sideline. Why did you miss that? They didn't mean to miss it. And
I know the obvious criticism is what use is that? Well, my dad was. Well, they're all critical, aren't they? Because they want you to.
But is there a time to do it? I mean, I always think do it after the round. You can after the round's finished. Don't do it.
I wonder if there's a place for a parent, really, because I mean, if you had a caddy there, well, a lot of parents caddy for them, don't they? So
and there's a subject.
So it should. You take a very understanding parent to. I mean, I could probably do it with John, but because
have you? I know you haven't really got too much involved in it deliberately.
I'm not caddied for him, no, but and he is a caddy. He caddies it. True sometimes and Prestwick as well. So he's had a lot of experience caddying. So he's caddied for me on the Legends Tour.
How did that go?
Good.
Yeah.
Really good. He's very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
you think he actually learned anything from you?
I don't know.
Which
Maybe.
would take back into his game in the sense of...
I invited him this week, but he's busy doing stuff. He's playing at St Andrews this week in some competition, so... yeah, and he's been at uni, so he couldn't do it over the last couple of years anyway, but he's... Yeah, it works.
It's not easy being a parent of a junior golfer. I mean, that's one thing which we try and stress on the podcast a lot.
There was a few years ago, Sue Ho stayed at our house. She's an Australian. She's on the LPGA tour, and her father was very pushy. She even told me she was only about 19 at the time. I shouldn't probably say, but I don't know how it's developed from that. But he is obviously providing all the money for her to travel and everything, and it's almost like an investment. It felt like, the father's invested so much, not just advice and everything, but money as well, and he was bizarrely wanting a return. It felt like and she could feel that at that age, at that point, and I think. Well, she's still on the LPGA tour. I don't know what happened in the end, but I would imagine, he's probably taken a bit of a backed off a wee bit, because she's got very good people around her, I think, now. So, what was the coach? He's a famous Australian coach she was with. He teaches Mark Leishman as well. So he got involved, and I think he would have tried to separate it a wee bit. And her father normally travelled with her, but he didn't stay at my house, so she was free from him for a week, and she did tell me that because she was very talented. She was off and running on her own now, but there's also a parent probably has to back off at some point. I don't know. Tiger was unusual, wasn't it, with his dad? He was always there, but it just takes a.
In some respects, it's. Use the word bad influence, but is Tiger the example of what happened with him? Is almost given license to other parents to say, well, if you have
to have that role,
yes,
become that role.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's also Serena Williams.
But I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah,
I don't think it's. It might be necessary if you're paying all the bills, to the entries, and obviously they can't travel alone, so you've got to support them that way. But I think it is going to challenge the relationship. So really, as a parent, do you want to have that? You don't want to have a challenging relationship with your children, in my view. I think you obviously want it. It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
So you don't want to spoil that lifetime relationship, which you can do. Some people don't speak to the parents because if they fell out over something. So. Yeah. And golf will make you fall out. I think there'll be so much going on, and blaming each other and that. So I think it should maybe move back at some point. You have to move back, because they're going to either be becoming, very good at it, and I don't know how you would. My dad backed off. He just criticised.
But you said your dad played sport. Was your dad or granddad played sport?
My granddad played cricket.
Yeah. Did your dad play sport? Any decent?
He was a keen golfer. He liked all sports. Yeah, he was very good at lots of sports. Hockey was another thing he played. So I played hockey as well. Yeah, I played men's hockey as a kid. Because a golfer, I could whack the ball. You see,
yeah.
I could hit it like a 7-iron. This thing. They're going, how the hell did he hit that like that? So it was quite, yeah. So I think the social thing. My dad recognised that he liked the social thing in sport that sport gave. He had lots of like-minded people you're with, and enjoying the sport, and after sport, you'd have a little chat and everything.
I'm just thinking, do you think it's a coincidence that in golf's history there aren't that many children and parents who have gone on to become very, very top players? Obviously Jack and his son played to a half decent, but there aren't that many whereby you'd say, two generations.
Gary he played the tour when I was on it.
Yeah.
There's Gary Nicholas over there, and his dad he just left him to it. I think he.
But it's a coincidence the fact that there hasn't been more two generations. I'm thinking of cricket where there's quite a lot of cricketers who've different generations have played for England.
Well,
and
a
things
team
like that.
game. You see, a team game, your face can fit. You see, because it's a team game.
Yeah.
So either face fits. That's why I preferred the sports where it's just you. It's not a team game. You basically you are the team, and you can curate your team.
Yeah.
But if you've got all these different personalities you've got to deal with, and try and glue them together that they get on and make a team. I mean, team spirit is they have it in the Ryder Cup. They've got to try and. Is it going to be? You don't want the guy that no one gets on with in the team, really, because he's going to be, in the corner on his own, and then it ruins team spirit, and there's it is different, that have to have that, and they're not necessarily the best players. It's just because they all gel and they can, like a frequency, they energise each other,
yeah,
and they could become unbeatable.